I think we're live. Right, welcome back, history seekers, to the second episode of Fistory. No camera. This episode feeling a bit rough, honestly, guys. I'm just gonna power through it. Tonight, we have Khazaria, one of the strangest and just generally like weirdest topics around. It's conspiracy theory, but it sort of isn't, and it's kind of it's like a whole thing. What is Khazaria? Did the Jewish people in fact originate from, sort of Ukraine, essentially? Does this have anything to do with the war that's going on? What about the strange tales of the, conversion of the Khazarians to Judaism in like the, is it like the 8th century, a long time ago? We will be delving into all of that stuff. As you can see at the moment, there is an image on your screens by magic of what was the Khazarian Khaganate, which existed. Let me see. From like basically the late 6th century, for about 3 centuries before they were BTFO'd by the Kievan Rus. As you can see, the extension of the Khazarian Khaganate sort of covered most of what is now Ukraine, including Kiev, and all the way down, sort of, through Georgia, across the eastern bank of the Black Sea, or the Schwarzes Meer, as you can see on this map, straddling the piece of land between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, down into the northwest part of Turkey. And it's important because this sort of whole area was part of the Silk Road and was a sort of crossroads of trade. And, as you may be aware, any empire that is on a crossroads of trade has a great utility, because you can like tax people going through it. There's also a bunch of like other sort of rumors and stories that I have heard of but are hard to track down, that allegedly the Khazars were quite tricky with people who would like cross their territory. They might kill and impersonate travelers and take over trade deals. So, a trader would come into Khazaria and be confronted by like, wine and beautiful women and stuff like that. And he'd get like drunk and plied for information. They'd be like, tell us about yourself, weary traveler. What's your name? Where are you from? Where are you going? Right. And then basically they'd steal this person's identity, go to the trade, and collect all the money. There are some rumors as well that they did this with diplomatic envoys too, and this is one of the reasons why the surrounding empires basically turned against them. They were bounded on sort of the west by the Byzantine Empire, sort of to the east by what would become the Ottomans, I believe the Abbasid Caliphate, the Muzzies, and to the north by the Kievan Rus. So they were sort of surrounded, but also at a nexus of trade, which of course is, a great place to be. Now, the reason why the Khazaria is like a thing is the great question of where exactly the Ashkenazi come from, which I managed to misspell in the announcement tweet, because the retardation is strong with me, right? Clearly. But basically, the Ashkenazi are a very, very weird bunch, as opposed to the Mizrahi and the Haredi, Sephardi, Mizrahi and the Sephardi, the sort of more Middle Eastern Jews. The Ashkenazi have essentially European admixture, and since they are kind of like the top caste of the sort of the Jewish universe, they're the ones that came over from like places like Poland, Russia, Ukraine. There is a lot of sort of controversy over, are they really from Israel? If they are, like, sort of, how did they get there? And of course, this is like a highly politicized question. According to the Times of Israel, all the Ashkenazi are descended from about 350 people from a bottleneck that dates back 600 to 800 years, which would be about the 12th, 13th century, which would coincide, I think, with sort of the troubles going on in Europe between the Christians and the Jews. So it could be that the Ashkenazi are a remnant of the Jews that were persecuted in Europe, who then sort of made their way back to Israel, or spread around. It's very very hard to know a lot of this stuff. To be perfectly honest, um, people have been doing genetic studies, and whatever you sort of come up with, right? The Ashkenazi are sort of in a class or a genome all of their own. They are a people apart, a sort of distinct genetic cluster that is sort of halfway between the Levantines, the Europeans, and the Semites themselves, which I would presume are the sort of the Haredi and the Mizrahi. So they are a sort of weird kind of like group. There is a sort of overlap with the Turks, and also apparently with the Italians. Um, Apparently they are, mainly Italian, which, would, I mean, again, nobody, I don't know. Anyway, the reason why this became all relevant was because of a study that came out where they were basically saying that the Ashkenazi came from Khazaria. Now, this is a sort of like a map of the area as it stands now. And as you can see, Khazaria would have basically covered sort of south of Ukraine, I don't know like what you call that spit of land between the Black Sea and the Caspian, where like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan is, and the northwest part of Turkey. Very, very sort of significant place to call your home. Now, do I have this? I had this thing from Grok. Basically, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Thank you very much, Grok. So the original hypothesis that the Ashkenazi come from Khazaria was to do with this genetic study that has since been debunked, allegedly, given the sort of highly political nature of this question. Because of everything since 1948, the founding of the modern state of Israel, it is very very politically important that all of the Jews say that they were, originally from Israel, so that they have a right to go back there. And so whether this can be fully relied on, I don't know, right? The important point is that it is a theory, right? It has been debated in historic, genetic, and cultural contexts, with some sources supporting it based on interpretations of genetic data or historical narrative. However, most modern genetic studies refute it, often noting its use in anti-Semitic rhetoric. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this would be sort of anti-Semitic in of itself. I mean, unless the anti-Semitic part is saying that the Ashkenazi are not really from Israel. Most of it seems to just be this very, very weird story of this group of this sort of Turkish, Asiatic people that converted to Judaism in this like sort of very, very weird event in the 9th century. So anyway, according to Grok, this was the main reason behind a lot of it. There was also a book called The 13th Tribe by Albert by Kessler, which I have not read. But allegedly, that was what like really sort of brought it back. Like, they're like, they're from Khazaria. There has been some speculation that this may in fact be why the Ukraine war happened. But this might be the anti-Semitic part. Even without sort of Khazaria, the Ashkenazi have been in Russia and Ukraine and those kinds of like areas for a very very long time. But it might get resurrected in order to sort of pave the way for legitimacy for Ukraine, especially after the horrible depopulation unpleasantness has wound up. However the hell that's actually going to go. So, who were the Khazars? The Khazars were a semi-nomadic Turkic people who established a major commercial empire in the late 6th century, spanning southeastern Russia, southern Ukraine, and western Kazakhstan. It was the most powerful polity to emerge from the breakup of the Western Turkic Khaganate. So this form of the state was called a Khaganate. The head was called the Khagan, who was basically like a sort of king or emperor, who was sort of the divine kingly king, and a bek or bey, which is sort of like a Turkish, more sort of Ottoman position, who was like the head of the military and the administrative state. Astride a major artery of commerce between Eastern Europe and Southwestern Asia, Khazaria became one of the foremost trading empires in the early medieval world, commanding the western marches of the Silk Road and playing a key commercial role as a crossroad between China, the Middle East, and the Kievan Rus, which is what the Russians were called before they were called the Russians. For some 3 centuries, 650 to 965, the Khazars dominated the vast area extending from the Volga-Don steppes, to the eastern Crimea and northern Caucasus. Although they were likely a confederation of French Turkic-speaking people, the precise origins and nature of the Khazars are uncertain, since there is no surviving record in the Khazar language and the state was multilingual and polyethnic. Their native religion was thought to have been Tengrism. What exactly is Tengrism? Let's have a look, shall we? Tengrism is a belief system originating in the Eurasian steppes based on shamanism and animism. It generally involves the titular sky god Tengri. According to some scholars, adherents of Tengrism view the purpose of life as to be in harmony with the universe. So some kind of like weird quasi-Buddhist shamanism. This would make sense given the sort of like steppe sort of Asiatic influence. Yes, here it is. A Buddhism mixed steppe tradition and a system of magic rather than a formal religion. The ancient Turks were not shamanists and adhered to a unique Tengrist belief system centered around an abstract deity in heaven, distinguishing it from other forms. Okay, interesting. Oh, and I didn't share that tab, did I? Right, this is Tengrism. As you can see, I don't know what that weird symbol is. Anyway, it's sort of like weird shamanism, basically, right? Although the populations of the Khazarian Khaganate seems to have included pagans, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, although there is evidence that the ruling elite of the Khazars converted to Rabbinic Judaism in the 8th century, the scope of the conversion of Judaism within the Khanate remains uncertain. Now, this is really quite a fascinating story, particularly the conversion. Let me see, where have we got the actual conversion here? Now, the reason this sort of became relevant is that the Khazar correspondence became a thing. Let me see, where is it? Oh, God, why am I not? Here we go. The Khazar correspondence is a set of documents which is alleged to have date from the 950s or 960s, and 2 letters between Hasdai ibn Shaprut, foreign secretary to the Caliph of Cordoba in Spain, and Joseph Kagan of the Khazars. The correspondence is one of the only few documents attributed to a Khazar author, and potentially one of only a small number of primary sources on Khazar history. The authenticity has been challenged on the grounds that it has little in common. But the thing is, ostensibly, it gives both the account of the Khazar conversion to Judaism and of its progress in subsequent generations, as well as showing potentially that within a generation of the fall of the Khazar Empire in 969, the Khazar state was still militarily powerful and received tribute from several polities. Now, the important thing about this basically is that Someone in Cordoba, who was I imagine this guy, Hasdai ibn Shaprut, was told that there was, in fact, a Jewish state sort of in the Caucasus, and no one believed him. They were like, no, 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 this can't be true. And so he wrote a letter, basically figuring out like a way to like get it to the Kagan, and basically saying, is it true that you're Jewish? We've been searching for the lost tribe for so long. Now, the lost tribe is a sort of a thing that's been on for like a while. For example, and it has often been used for political effect. For example, after the Jews were expelled from England, there was a guy going around called Manasseh bin Israel, who in 1650 published his Hope of Israel, in which he advocated for the return of the Jews to England as a preliminary to the appearance of the Messiah. This is what he was basically sort of trying to sell to the Protestants. He basically said that the Messiah could not appear until the Jews existed in all the lands of the earth. And according to some guy, the 10 tribes had been discovered in the North American Indians, and therefore England was the only country from which the Jews were excluded. And therefore, if England readmitted them, the Messianic age might be expected. And this was sort of sold to the Protestants as well, I believe. And Cromwell was in on this as well. So this was the idea that, Jesus could not return until Jews were admitted to every single land on the earth. So this idea of the lost tribe has been around for a long time. Let me see. Do we get any super chats or anything? No. Okay, we got Entropy and we got Ko-Fi up as well, if you want to like say hello on that. So the the Hasdai's letter to King Joseph. I, Hasdai, son of Ezek, son of Ezra, belonging to the exiled Jews of Jerusalem in Sepharad, a servant of my lord the king, bow to the earth before him, and prostrate myself towards the abode of your majesty from a distant land. I rejoice in your tranquility and magnificence, and stretch forth my hands to God in heaven, that he may prolong your reign in Israel. Praise be to the beneficent God for his mercy towards me, King of the earth. Yeah, right. Like this is going on. Kings of the earth, to whom his magnificence and power are known, bring gifts to him, conciliating his favor by costly presents, such as the king of the Franks, the king of the Gebelim, who are Germans, the king of Constantinople, and others. All their gifts pass through my hands, and I am charged with making gifts in return. Let my lips express praise to the God of heaven, who so far extends his loving kindness towards me. I love these old like diplomatic letters, particularly sort of like, around this period. The Muslims were really, really good at doing this. Like they'd open these letters with these like really, really long sort of like ass kissing sort of sessions, basically of, my gifts, and no. I always ask the ambassadors of these monarchs who bring gifts about our brethren, the Israelites, the remnant of the captivity, whether they have heard anything concerning the deliverance of those who have languished in bondage and have found no rest. He was anxious to know if the 10 lost tribes existed as an independent Jewish state anywhere. At length, mercantile emissaries of Khorasan, which is southeast of the Caspian, told me that there is a kingdom of Jews which is called Al-Khazar. But I did not believe these words, for I thought they told me such things to procure my goodwill and favor. I was therefore wondering until the ambassadors of Constantinople came between 944 and 949 with presents and a letter from their king to our king. And I interrogated them concerning this matter. Oh, did we get an entry? Was that, I think that was entry. Simon JJ for $25. Thank you very much, mate. Good to see you, Newsfist. This looks to be a great series. Thank you very much. Look, I feel like I'm still a bit chaotic at the moment, but I got stuff planned. Thank you very much, Simon. I really appreciate that, mate. And hello to everybody else in the chat. Who we got? Ardent Party, Simon JJ, Sunny Jim, Total Blackout Painting, Aramaic Discourse, Drakon Blade, Vitaly Klemenchuk, 007. We got like a bunch of people in the chat. Oh, it's good to see you all, guys. Great to see you all. Thank you for coming. And on Odyssey, we got Highland Fool. And on Rumble, you got Captain Corgi. Is that a Captain Chris? We got 2 captains. It's good to see you guys. Right, back to the letter. So yes, so this guy's like there is in fact a Jewish kingdom in the the Caspian / Ukraine. He's like, no, surely this is not true. You're just buttering me up. You just want something from me. They answered me, it is quite true, and the name of that kingdom is Alcazar. I feel like Alcazar, isn't that like a name also from like Arabian Nights, like Alakazam, Alcazar? It is 15 days' journey by sea from Constantinople, but by land many nations intervene between us. The name of the king is Joseph. Ships sometimes come from their country to ours, bringing fish, skins, and wares of every kind. The Khazars, great traders, got their wares from the Russians to the north. See, this is the thing. If you are astride a chunk of land that is a trading crossroads, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? This is the big impetus behind the Greater Israel project, actually, right? Is that if the Israelis manage to control the heads of like all of the like the Gulfs and the Western Med and stuff like that, they will control all overland trade that goes between it. It's incredibly profitable. These men are our Confederates and are honored by us. There is communication between us by embassies and mutual gifts. Well, I like mutual gifts. They are very powerful. They maintain numerous armies with which they occasionally engage in expeditions. When I heard this report, I was encouraged. My hands were strengthened, and my hope was confirmed. Thereupon I bowed down and adored the God of heaven. So he got a reply, which is so King Joseph did the reply. I wish to inform you that your beautifully phrased letter was given to us by Isaac, son of Eliza, a Jew of the land of Germany. Isaac carried it through Germany, Hungary, and Kievan Rus to Khazaria. That's a long way around. You made us happy, and we are delighted with your understanding and wisdom. Let us therefore renew the diplomatic relations that once obtained between us, and let us transmit this heritage to our children. You ask of us in this epistle, of what people, of what family, and what tribe are you? Know that we are descended from Japheth, through his son Togarmah, who in Jewish literature, Togarmah is the father of all the Turks. I have found in the genealogical books of my ancestors that he had 7 sons. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Right. So basically he's saying our ancestors, the Khazarians, came and fought with the Bulgarians, and although these Bulgarians were as numerous as the sands on the shores of the sea, they could not withstand the Khazars, so they left their country and fled, while the Khazars pursued them as far as the Danube River. Up to this very day, the Bulgars camp among the Danube and are close to Constantinople. The Khazars have occupied their land up until now. After this, several generations... Okay, so this is the interesting part. After this, several generations passed until a certain king arose whose name was Bulan. He was a wise and God-fearing man, trusting in his creator with all of his heart. He expelled the wizards and idolaters from the land and took refuge in the shadow of his wings. After this, his fame was spread broadcast. The king of the Byzantians and the Arabs who had heard of him sent their envoys and ambassadors with great riches and many great presents to the king, as well as some of their wise men. Where is this? Right. Okay. But the king, may his soul be bound up in the bundle of life. This is like a sort of classic Jewish phrase, apparently. With the Lord his God being wise, sent for a learned Israelite. The king searched, inquired, investigated carefully, and brought the sages together, that they might argue about their respective religions. Each one of them refuted, however, the arguments of his opponent, so that they could not agree. When the king saw this, he said to them, "Go home, but return to me on the 3rd day." It does read a bit like a legend, doesn't it? On the 3rd day, he called all the sages together and said to them, "Speak and argue with one another. and make clear to me which is the best religion." They began to dispute with one another without arriving at any result until the king said to the Christian priest, "What do you think of the religion and of the Jews and the Muslims, which is to be preferred?" The priest answered, "The religion of the Israelites is better than that of the Muslims." This is presumably because the Byzantines and the Muslims were like, having like a lot of beef at that period. The king then asked the Qadi, the Muslim representative, "What do you say? Is the religion of the Israelites or that of the Christians preferable?" And the Qadi answered, "The religion of the Israelites is preferable." Upon this, the king said, "If this is so, you both have admitted with your own mouths that the religion of the Israelites is better. Wherefore, trusting the mercies of God and the power of the Almighty, I choose the religion of Israel. That is the religion of Abraham, Judaism, rabbinical Judaism, to be precise. If that God in whom I trust and in the shadow of whose wings I find refuge will aid me, he can give me without labor the money, the gold, and the silver, which you have promised me. As for you all, now go in peace to your land." From that time on, the Almighty helped Bulan, fortified him, and strengthened him. He circumcised himself, his servants, attendants, and all of his people. That's going to be a bit rough. Arabic sources apparently say only the royal family and nobility became Jews, and only a part of the people. That would have been a bit tricky, forcing circumcision on everyone. The Bulan sent for and brought from all places the wise men of Israel, who interpreted the Torah for him and arranged the precepts in order. And up to this very day, we have been subject to this religion. So basically, what's going on is this idea of the Khazarian disputation. Now, I mean, exactly how this went down. There's a lot of just very, very weird sources on this, quite frankly. This is an unknown Khazar document. This is by S. Schechter, the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. And it talks a bit about the Khazari conversion. There's another one that is a sort of whatchamacallit, like a made up version, like a sort of parable version, where they sort of like go on and they talk about how the all the stuff that was explained to the Khazar, to the Kagan, to make him convert. It's very, very long. It's like, nature of God and then the properties of God, and how, because like light travels through transparent stuff, it therefore proves like God and stuff like that. But essentially, the story that I have heard sort of through rumor, and I can't support this, is that eventually the Khaganate pissed off their surrounding neighbors through sort of various bad behavior, slaving raids, and, as I said, sort of intercepting and trade routes, and impersonating diplomats and this kind of other stuff. And then the Russian ruler, where is he? I've got him here. The Russian ruler Sviatoslav I decided to invade and BTFO them. Sviatoslav is known for his persistent campaigns in the East and South, which precipitated the collapse of two great powers in Eastern Europe, Khazaria and the First Bulgarian Empire. He conquered numerous East Slavic tribes, defeated the Alans, and attacked the Bulgars, and was at times allied with the Pechenegs and the Magyars, who became the Hungarians, basically. And essentially, these were the sort of the guys from Kiev, the Kievan Rus. And there was, at this time, Sviatoslav was a staunch pagan all of his life, despite his mother converting to Christianity. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit of a complex story, this. Probably need to do like a PhD on this. Like, this is a very, very complicated story. I didn't realize it was going to be this complicated when I started looking into it. This is the okay. So this is the sort of allegorical book. It's called Kuzari, by Rabbi Yehuda HaLevi, and it basically talks in a sort of allegorical way about all of the stuff that the Jewish philosopher said to the Kagan in order to get him to convert. I mean, it's a very, very weird story, right? That supposedly right in the middle of the the sort of the Caucasus, this tribe just sort of converted to Judaism, all on their own. There is another story that basically says that they were being very, very pagan, the Khazaris, and doing like a lot of bad behavior. And so they were sort of forced by their neighbors, the what became the Ottomans. I think they were the Abbasid Caliphate, the Rus, and the Byzantines. That they had to pick one of the sort of three main religions. So you have to convert to either Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. And it was this that caused the disputation. It wasn't sort of like a choice freely made. And this is one of the reasons why they sent these emissaries to disputate. Disputations used to be like a really big thing. We'll be covering more of them in some of the other episodes. But it's they used to do these sort of these public disputations where people would argue about religion in like a town square. There was very, very famously a huge disputation in Paris, I think in like 1215, where this Jew who had converted to Christianity basically went to the king with a bunch of stuff in the Talmud and said like, this stuff is like really, really bad. And the king was like, oh yeah, this does look a bit bad. And they had this huge sort of like thing in Paris where they disputed the Judaism. But the trial was sort of a bit rigged in the way these sort of things are, because the rabbis couldn't deny the divinity of Christ or Mary, and so they lost the disputation, and then they burnt like thousands and thousands of copies of the Torah afterwards, and forced a bunch of the rabbis to convert. And yeah, I mean that's like a whole other story of itself. Okay, so wait, what is this? Oh man, I'm a bit so this is the Jewish encyclopedia. This has like a bunch of like other stuff, but fundamentally that's kind of like the story. I thought there was like more to this. Only a half an hour in. Oh my god. Wait, why don't we talk more about, I know I've got something about the here we go. So allegedly, this has become a story of hate. I don't know why. Well, let's find out together. Allegedly, the Khazaria conspiracy is an anti-Septic conspiracy theory in relation to the recent events in the Russian-Ukrainian war. Oh, right. So it is about Ukraine. Since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, you can tell anyone who uses this phrase is a glowy, by the way. Full-scale Russian invasion is like one of those things that only Western glowies say. So since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracy theories about the conflict have been spread on the internet. I mean, and also in the Jewish Chronicle, I don't know what to tell you. Like, Zelensky got elected on a peace platform, right? The entire top echelon of the government becomes Jewish, and then they start this like huge war that is like depopulated the entire country and killed tons of neo-Nazis. I mean, I'm just saying, right? Like, I don't like, is it a conspiracy theory? I can't tell anymore, bros. One of these theories, which attempts to explain the secret reasons behind the outbreak of the war and seems to be regaining popularity, is the niche anti-Semitic Khazaria conspiracy. This conspiracy theory sprouted from old tropes about the Khazars, and takes a novel form when applied to the war in Ukraine. With recent discussions between Ukrainian and US leadership regarding rare earth minerals and a potential peace agreement, there has been a resurgence of posts on X, Gab, and Facebook about the topic. According to the Khazaria conspiracy, the ongoing war in Ukraine is the result of a secret plan in which Zelensky is merely a puppet to re-establish the Jewish kingdom of Khazaria through a bloody clash between white Christian Russians and Ukrainians. Oh, I always thought they were just getting rid of everyone in the country so they could. I mean, not. I mean, what would I know, right? I mean, they're only like literally just depopulating the country. For the best reasons, obviously, of course. I mean, I wouldn't want to suggest in any way, shape, or form that, killing off the entire fighting age section of the Ukrainian people was not, a good idea to get Putla. But I mean, it does seem that they're not very, their tactics do seem to be a bit, how can I say, like sort of self-genocidal in that regard, right? Like they never retreat. They like lock parts of their army in these like huge cauldrons, and instead of like telling them to like leave before the cauldron closes, they just like leave them there and they all get killed. I mean, I don't know, right? I'm sure they know what they're doing. This claim appeals to the old medieval Khazar Khaganate, a Turkic kingdom that ruled over what is now central eastern Ukraine, southern Russia, western Kazakhstan, and the Caucasus between the 7th and 10th centuries. Around the 8th century, the ruling elites of Khazaria converted to Judaism, although it remains unclear how widespread this process was among the general population. Khazar rule ended in the 960s following the victory of Kievan Prince Sviatoslav I, the father of Vladimir I, the first Christian ruler of the Kievan Rus-based Vladimir. The memory of Khazaria gradually faded over the following centuries among European Jewish communities until it was rediscovered in the early 19th century and later linked to the origin of the Ashkenazi Jews. By the late 19th century, some scholars, both Jewish and non-Jewish, proposed the hypothesis that Ashkenazi Jews descended from a westward Khazar diaspora following the fall of the Khaganate, rather than from the ancient Israelites as traditionally thought. I mean, traditionally, like, you know how long this shit goes back for? Like 2,000-3,000 years. Like, dude, no one knows shit that far back, right? Like, it's lost in antiquity. This theory, which is now considered incorrect based on available evidence, again highly politicized, was popularized in 1976 by the Hungarian Jewish writer Arthur Koestler in his book The 13th Tribe. Since then, the Khazar hypothesis of Ashkenazi ancestry has been increasingly associated with anti-Semitic narratives. Oh no. Particularly in the Soviet Union and later in Russia after the 1970s. This was largely due to the work of the anti-Semitic historian Lev Gumilev, who introduced the myth to a Russian audience. Moreover, this theory has been recently used to challenge the legitimacy of the State of Israel and Zionism. Well, of course, this is the really important part, right? In May 2018, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas referenced the Khazar theory to delegitimize Jewish historical ties to the region, stating that European Jews originated from the Khazar Empire and were therefore not Semites. For those accepting the Khazaria conspiracy theory about the Russian-Ukraine war, the conflict is a covert attempt to reinstate the Khazar Khaganate. This war, according to them, is not the result of a Russian project of recreating an imperial space through the reconquest of territories and states that broke away with the fall of the USSR, but is instead Ukraine's fault. Okay, I mean, right. So if you think the war was Ukraine's fault, is that now an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory? I'm so confused, bros. According to this view, Ukraine is a NATO proxy that attacked Russia, and Zelensky is controlled by, as it's sometimes called, the Khazarian Mafia. Oh yeah, Ben Fulford did a bunch of stuff on this. He was really into like the Khazarian Mafia. There is a lot of schizo stuff around this, to be fair. This view was endorsed in the following ex-post from they censor like who it's from. Okay. On the 28th of February, the day of the failed summit between Trump and Zelensky, where all the elements involved in this plot are stated clearly, along with other collateral conspiracy theories like the New World Order and Jewish ownership of the Federal Reserve. Okay, I mean, so there is no New World Order, right? And mate, yeah. So I guess the Warburgs, the Schiffs, and no, wait, the Morgans weren't Jewish. There was a bunch of Jewish involvement in the founding of the Fed. This is just historical fact. I'm beginning to think, right, that this website is not entirely neutral. Who's the Online Hate Prevention Institute? No, I'm sure they're highly neutral, bros. Shock video. Zelensky threatens America in the Oval Office. Zelensky is speaking of his fellow Khazarian mafia that put him in position to create the greater Israel of New Khazaria for Ashkenazi Jews while demociding and displacing white Christians. Remember, Khazarian banksters, which own the Fed Reserve and occupy control of the Treasury, use taxpayer funds to fund their special project with Khazarian-owned BlackRock to steal Ukraine's assets and minerals. Also, Khazarians using Ukraine as a proxy via NATO to attack, weaken regime change, and take over Russia and steal its assets as Russia is a holdout to their one world government. That's very man, that's a lot of conspiracy in a small space there. I just thought that if this was true, right, they were just like getting rid of all the Banderites who were really against the Jewish population, and they were just we'll get rid of them by making them go to war with the Russians. I don't know, right? The conspiracy is radically anti-Semitic, as it involves the belief that Jews are extremely powerful and wicked figures capable of plotting wars to depopulate a European country with the aim of reestablishing an ancient Jewish medieval kingdom. Well, I mean, okay. I mean, plotting wars. I mean, people do plot wars, though. Am I supposed to believe that that everyone is capable of plotting wars except the Jays? This is a very, very strange article, this. Furthermore, wide-ranging conspiracy theories of this kind were at the root of violent and deadly actions towards Jewish people, like pogroms in Russia between the late 19th century and early 20th century and the Shoah. Okay. I mean, so it can't be true, and if it's true, it might be hurting people. Yeah, I think I've heard this before. On top of this, by portraying Ukraine's struggle for independence and survival, but it's not independent and it's not surviving, right? Ukraine is now just a rump state completely supported by the EU and the US, and it's not surviving. It's lost like a third of its territory. What the fuck is this? When was this shit written? April 1st this year, 6 months ago. This shit was, I can't freaking believe this, right? As a senseless attempt to undermine Russia, driven by a puppet leadership and by denying its national autonomy. What national autonomy? This conspiracy theory also conveys anti-Ukraine stances partially overlapping with some Russian propaganda. Okay? I mean, so then they go on talking about Victoria Nuland, Zelensky, and other international Jays that caused this war. Will they be held accountable? The thing is, right, here we go, right. The use of the phrase international Jays, similar to the term globalists, reinforce. So globalists are Jays. Oh yeah, I remember. Back during COVID, there was a bunch of this going around. People are like, don't talk about the globalists. You really mean the Jays? And I was like, no one's mentioning the Jays. Can you? What the fuck are you? What the fuck are you talking about? Saying the globalists are behind COVID is very anti-citrus. You're like, okay, like what? So yes, this echoes the protocols of Zion and supposed secret plots. No. The thing is, okay, right? The foreign policy establishment that really pushed for the Ukraine war, many of whom are out of power now, was people like Victoria Nuland, Kagan, the Atlantic Council, and many of them, a very large number of them, ex-Russian Jays who they hate the Russians. Like this is not news, right? Like Victoria Nuland is known to hate the Russians. Kagan from the Atlantic Council. The Atlantic Council is a big foreign policy body. They hate the Russians with like an ethnic passion. I presume this is supposed to be like fact checked, you know. Yes, this famous meme. I haven't seen this for like a while. Yes, Khazaria, Kievan Rus on the side, the Bulgars. Yeah, this is the problem with having a state on a trades crossroads. You're also basically surrounded. So you get a ton of money from trade, but you're also always getting like attacked on your borders. So, um, did you know that people are tweeting? Look at this, right? By the end of February 26th, this original tweet had 4,394 views. Oh my God. 4,000 views on a tweet. Oh my God. Quick, shut it down, bro. This is things have really progressed since then, haven't they? My God. Did you see this tweet? It got 400 likes. Oh my God. A user commented on the post by explicitly mentioning the Khazaria plot, along with its full range of conspiracy tropes. The first argument presented was demographic. The war's human losses and the mass migration of the population would prepare Ukraine to welcome the Jays and revive Khazaria once Israel falls. Well, I mean, I can't really be answered until the war is over, isn't it? I mean, there are a few like weird things about Ukraine. For example, did you know that the world's largest synagogue is in Dnipro? Let's see, Dnipro synagogue. Here we go. I believe this is the largest synagogue in the world. I did read that somewhere, unless I'm mistaken. It's very, very significant. Dnipro is sort of the heart of the Luboviches in Ukraine. So it's yeah right. So it's a Lubavitcher hub. Near the complex. Wait. Here we go. No, the Golden Rose Central Synagogue. Maybe this is the one. Built in 1868 when Dnipro was named Ekaterinoslav. Maybe it's not the largest one. The internet lied to me, bro. It's like I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I thought that it was I thought it was like the largest synagogue in the world. But anyway, Dnipro is a very, very Jewish city. It's on the bank of the Dnieper. So I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, there are other reasons why you might want parts of Ukraine, particularly Crimea and places like that. It's just very, very central, right? It's like right on the Black Sea. You can trade with Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, Georgia. You can get access to the Mediterranean. It's a prime trading spot, quite frankly. Let's see what else we got on this. Purpose of this conspiracy theory is to suggest that a secret Jayish plot is targeting Ukraine. Oh, the horror. Meanwhile, oh yes, that's right. That's right. Zelensky basically said that he wanted to transform post-war Ukraine into a big Israel. Here we go. Apparently that's like not sussy. So though apparently, right, the purpose, what Zelensky was really saying was that Ukraine would maintain a strong military might and a militarized society similar to Israel in the Middle East. Okay, so it's not right, like just a poor choice of words on the part of Zelensky by saying that Ukraine after the war would become a big Israel, right? The same. Wait. Okay, hang on. Sorry, I didn't. Is this the is this the right tab? Yeah, right. Okay, sorry. This is a very, very weird website. It's like they collect all the schizo stuff together. Um, so yeah, so the conspiracy theory is basically that Chabad wants to liquidate the Slavs via the Russia-Ukrainian war, and this was revealed in a speech given the same year by Chabad leader Rabbi Mendel Schneerson, one of the most influential Jewish rabbis of the 20th century. Well, he was the most influential Jewish rabbi of the 20th century. I don't think that can be argued. And the leader of a branch of Orthodox Judaism. The branch, right? Like there's nothing as large as Chabad. Chabad is just it is the whole, you know. They're the ones in New York with the tunnels, right? Um, in this alleged speech, for which there is no evidence that it ever took place. Oh yeah, okay. The entire plot is explained in grim detail. It first claims that the Slavs, and among them the Russians, are the most unbending people in the world, and therefore, for this reason, we will divide those into small nations and proceed with the war. The thing is, that is literally the goal of the West, is to partition Russia up into small nations so that it can be more easily managed. So I don't know who to believe, mate. I don't know whether I should believe this, office for countering hate or whatever. They reference the Elders of Zion again, of course. People have said this stuff before, therefore it isn't true. This is a very, very weak argument, honestly. To just say that, because like a conspiracy schizo said it before, therefore it can't be true. I don't know. This is very, very weird. This website. People have been posting on Gab. Yeah, right. Now, okay, so this meme is quite interesting in that it does show how this map, how if you sort of gained control of the Caucasus and significant chunks of Ukraine, you would essentially control the crossroads of the entire world, right? Because you would have the head of the sort of the southeastern part of the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, the head of the Persian Gulf, the head of the Red Sea, the eastern part of the Med. Like, I mean, you can see like how if you manage to hold an empire like this, it would be a trading monolith, right? Like everything that came up sort of the Silk Road through the Persian Gulf, through the Suez Canal, everything that like came through the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, you control it all, right? Like, I mean, geopolitically is pretty boss, is all I'm saying. In addition to these geographical analogies, historical comparisons are made between Ukrainian identity symbols and those used by the Khazars. Yeah, they don't have any pictures of that, but that is a thing. All to suggest the intrinsically Jewish nature of today's Ukrainian state and to demonstrate the validity of the Khazarian conspiracy. In a post on X, on the 20th of February, in addition to comparing the borders of present-day Ukraine with those of the Khazarian Empire, the Ukrainian coat of arms is juxtaposed with a Khazarian tanga. Interesting, they don't have... Oh, yes, here we go. Right, yeah. So the Ukrainian Tritsub and the Khazarian tamanga. They do look kind of similar. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, wow. This look at this. This is a thing from I know this cartoonist. Stama says to Zelensky, "Why are you sad, my friend? I have no more army men left to be die for my country. Don't worry, I have plenty of men I can send for your country. And after we die, who will repopulate our country? Don't worry, we have many Muslims who will take your place." I mean, how's it a conspiracy theory? I just don't understand. So the conclusion is that the revival of the Khazarian conspiracy myth on social media, in conjunction with the Zelensky-Trump summit, stresses how fringe anti-Semitic tropes still count significantly in anti-Jewish discourse. I mean, they're not doing they're not doing themselves any favors at the moment, honestly. While this conspiracy theory is airing some elements to the well-known conspiracies portrayed in texts like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion and the Rabbi's speech, it is shaped by and reflects the contemporary situation of the Russia-Ukrainian war and the Gaza war. The anti-Zionist nature inherent in this anti-Semitic theory becomes evident when analyzing its core axiom that Jews believe that the true Jewish homeland is Khazaria, which delegitimizes the existence of Israel. Moreover, by portraying the Ukrainian side in the war as a voiceless victim of evil, a voiceless victim of evil Jewish puppeteers, it denies the national self-determination of the Ukrainian people, who democratically elected a president of Jewish origin, Zelensky, on a peace platform, and willingly resists Russian aggression. Yes, very willingly, which is why they're going around and like nabbing people off the street to be in the army. It's definitely written for a Western audience. Oh, it's an Australian anti-hate thing. Oh, well, that explains a lot. Yeah, right. Okay, well, there you go, bros. I hope you found that interesting. I was hoping to find like an actual sort of like detailed thing of the disputation between the different sort of ambassadors in Khazaria, but I couldn't really find it. So I thought I'd read it. You know those things that sometimes you go down a rabbit hole and you've read something and you can't bloody find it again. So unfortunately, I could not find the full disputation. But I do hope you enjoyed that. Say a quick goodbye to everyone in the chat on YouTube. Seti Sapiente, Caleb Knight, Vitaly Klemenchuk, Victorian Time Traveler, Sunny Jim, Dracon Blade, Bobby B, Big Nick Digger, good to see you, mate. Fragile Thinking. Who else we got? 007, good to see you, mate. Total Blackout Painting. I think that's everybody. Yes. On Rumble, Crispy13, good to see you, mate. Captain Crisps. We had another captain in here as well. Was that you as well, Crisps, or is there Captain Corgi? Thank you very much. And on Odyssey, Highland Full. Right. I'll be back next week. Probably going to start the European arc. But I've got to get back and have a proper sit down. And of course, I'll be on with Artie on Friday night for another episode of Artie and Fist. Thank you very much, Simon JJ, for the super chat. I very, very much appreciate it. Take care, everyone, and see you later.